Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Totally Broken Opinions, the greatest podcast ever, because we're going to talk about like 3 to 4 week old news on gaming industry standards and things, and what the fuck is going on.
I mean, I was on holiday, you know, and then things happened, and yeah, there's nothing else going on in the news right now, so.
I'm also sick, still. So apologies for my voice. I know it's not the best of times, but hey, look, I get this deep, nasally, visceral, sexy voice, I guess.
I mean, yeah, fuck me now, seriously.
That's what everyone's saying. But yeah, we're going to be talking about Microsoft and Sony and all of their shitty things and maybe some other stuff. Just general practices of the gaming industry at the moment, because it's been terrible for companies recently. It's been terrible to be a studio. It's been terrible to be a game developer. What the hell is the gaming industry at?
Oh, it's fucked. I mean...
We're also not experts, so please don't be too harsh. We're just two guys who like games.
Also, probably don't play that many games as most people.
True. I mean, I used to. But we are in...
We're adults.
We have lives.
We have lives. We have jobs.
I want to play the game that we'll be talking about soon that may be in trouble, depending on its success, because it's an Xbox title. But yeah, let's start with the smaller news that kicked off because Sony did a thing. Sony basically... Helldivers 2 is a very successful game. It is apparently the fastest selling game on PlayStation's fastest selling game, apparently.
Yeah, people like really wanted it. I think it's like probably the best.
I played it. I didn't love it.
Really?
I own it on PC. I don't love it.
Wow. I think I
played it like what?
Isn't it like another Destiny kind of thing?
It's a looter shooter. It's like you get dropped into a planet and you just shoot a bunch of bugs or robots, and it's got global sort of teamwork things. So to clear a planet, it requires everyone who's playing the game to basically fill up a bar or something, and the developers can basically send in really hard bosses, and there's no like standard. If you ever watched the movie Starship Troopers or like know about Starship Troopers, it's basically that. It's basically patriotic, where they just throw human lives at foreign objects and go fight for the government. And everything's good to be in the government when they're clearly killing people unnecessarily for, like, you don't even know why you're attacking the bugs, other than they're bad because the government has said they're bad. But yeah, so it's a very popular game, even if I don't like... Well, I don't dislike it. I just found it a bit repetitive. And I have only played it like once, so maybe it wasn't the best experience. I also hated the tutorial. I couldn't fucking do the tutorial because I don't do PC and I had to do mouse and keyboard, and I could not get mouse and keyboard to work properly. So maybe I don't have the best experience. As soon as I switched to a controller, it worked a lot fine, like a lot better. But doing the tutorial on a mouse and keyboard, I just couldn't get it to do what I wanted it to do. But yeah, so the news was that Sony had... So when the game launched on PC and PlayStation, it was very, very popular. So they had to turn off the PC PlayStation requirement, like PlayStation Network requirement, because it was causing some bugs. And whilst they were trying to fix the server issues, because so many people were wanting to be there, they temporarily paused the requirement for PlayStation Plus, like a
PSN account.
Yeah, a PlayStation Network account. And so it then opened up the game worldwide, because only 69 countries apparently have access to a PlayStation Network account.
Yeah, it's not actually that many, because I think this game went to a lot of the places that didn't have the PSN account.
Yes. And so what happened was, after a couple months of successful, like highly acclaimed, everyone loves it, this is the best thing in gaming this year, Sony decided to turn that tap that they'd closed back on and try and force all of the people, started to notify people that they'd have to start registering for a PlayStation Network account. And what happened was people got mad. Very, very angry.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, well, the biggest problem about this is people from the other countries that don't have PSN accounts can't play the game now.
Yes,
Because
and
they're not allowed
enjoyed
to
the
be
game, bought the game because they could play it, because it was available in their country. And so I think those people, like, it would be a very small amount of players, I reckon, because like it was a lot of third world countries and stuff like that, and all of these, and not to say that this like justifies it, but it would have been a small total, and Sony could have very easily just... I think they still don't allow people to buy the game in those countries at the moment.
Yeah,
I think
so
it's still region blocked, so like 170 countries or something are still blocked.
Yeah,
at
so
the moment.
The
developers are working with Sony at the moment, or trying to get Sony to undo this.
Well, actually, 1 day ago today, they've just made it optional PSN account. So it was mandatory, and now it's optional PSN account. But
yeah, but I don't know if the countries are still blocked.
No, so what happened was, because it was blocked in those countries, they delisted the game in Steam, so no one in those countries could buy it. So they've now made it, as of 1 day ago of time recording, they've now made it optional to have a PSN account, but they've not re-enlisted the game in those countries.
In those countries. And people are suspecting, because Ghost of Tsushima, which is coming out on PC, and also now has that PlayStation multiplayer requirement, PlayStation Network account link, it's been delisted in all the countries that don't have a PlayStation Network account. And so people are like, Sony is probably just waiting for this to blow over and will probably try this again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't entirely get the reason why they're this determined.
Because
I mean, some financial reason.
I'm sure it's because Sony wants people to bolster... If people are moving to PC to play PlayStation games, I imagine it's so that they can maybe either siphon off accounts to maybe put PlayStation Plus on PC, which is, I imagine, their way of doing it, because then they can still get money from people on PC.
I can definitely see them eventually doing an Xbox thing of having their own launcher and taking games off Steam, and then making everyone have a PSN account. Like
Ubisoft and EA and all of these other companies.
It's like fucking...
that then no one likes.
Do you know what this is, right? This is the exact same thing as the streaming service shit.
Market. Yeah.
It's the exact same thing, where originally you had all these fucking games, you had to get discs everywhere, and it was like, oh, so much pain in the ass. So then Steam came along and was like, oh, don't worry about it, because all the games are on here. So then everyone put the games on Steam, and then everyone thought, oh, Steam is making money, so let's all make our own fucking ones. And then you got all fucking all different other shit, and it's all back to shit again.
Yep. Everyone hated DVDs and video things. Netflix came along. Ooh, we've got everything on here, and you just pay $9.99 a month. Guess what? Everyone bring your movies in. It's great. And Netflix makes a lot of money. Let's do that. Let's take all our stuff off and make our own streaming platform. Oversaturate a market that no one wants. Ruin cinema. Ruin everything. And charge very little, and then not make profit on it because it's not a successful business
suddenly
model.
Charge a lot more money once all the subscribers are in.
Yeah, because people are now trapped because they want your stuff.
Yep. And suddenly, now it's more money than ever to play games and watch TV.
Yep. And we're in a global economic crisis. Yeah.
Fucking hell, it's all going to shit.
But yes. So people started also mass downvoting.
It was hilarious. There was so many bad reviews. And it was
Have you seen the fact that people are trying to mod in a cape with the review scores negative?
No.
Yeah, so because the capes are a very big thing in Helldivers. So people are trying to mod in the review score because it looks like a pretty funny design with the like red lines going down where the just negative reviews happened. So people have tried to mod that into the game as a cape. But yeah, so what happened was Sony then eventually, because they had a deadline of like the 6th of May, I think it was, for like requirement for people to start registering, or I think by the 30th of May you wouldn't have the game or something like that. I can't remember the exact details. And so over the weekend that this was happening, everyone was mass downvoting the game. like kicking up a fuss, memeing the shit out of it, complaining, asking questions like, what the hell's going to happen if I live in a country where this isn't registered? And Sony eventually came out and basically went, okay, we'll make it optional, or we hear you, we'll work on this. We're not going to make it mandatory or something like that.
Yeah.
And so people, we've rejoiced. The developers basically said, okay, that's good. Can you upvote our game because like you proved your point. So the review score has now gone back to positive.
Yeah, it's not as good as it was. Originally, it was always overwhelmingly positive, and now it's classified as mostly positive for all reviews and mixed for recent. And I think the mixed recent thing is still because it's not available in some countries. And
also because it's only been like a month.
Yeah.
And I imagine the recent. But yeah, so that's basically where we're at with this. Ghost of Tsushima, I think, launches soon, like either today or tomorrow. But will be out, I think, by the time this podcast goes live. So we'll see. But it's a weird choice. I think I understand why Sony, because people were like, well, this thing has always been there from the beginning, that PlayStation requirement, like notification, but because of the game's success, they had to take it away for some reason. So but they never advertised it, and then allowing the game to run for like months without bringing it back, and then kind of just springing on people, and having have sold the game in countries where it wouldn't have been available had the PlayStation requirement been a factor from the beginning, was a weird choice on their part. So yeah, but now let's get into the bigger news, the old Xbox news. Microsoft, Xbox, basically shut down 4 studios recently: Arcane Austin, Tango Gameworks, Alpha Dogs, and they merged another studio into the Elder Scrolls developer studio. So they basically shut down 4 studios, and their reasoning, no one knows why. Because, well, one of them is the developer of Redfall, Arcane Austin, which was a very poorly received first person shooter, like vampire hunter game where it was multiplayer, and no one wanted it. The developers didn't want to make it. This was a thing that Microsoft inherited from Bethesda when they bought Bethesda, and Bethesda's management had basically forced this on them. And the team behind it were hoping that Microsoft would allow them to retrofit the game into a single player game or something different, and just stopped the development of this game so that they didn't have to work on it. But Microsoft basically went, no, we'll make this a flagship for Game Pass. And so the game didn't do well. It's very poorly reviewed. People didn't play it. I think the game's basically dead. No one's really playing it. And so Microsoft then shut the studio down. But this studio made games like Dishonored and a bunch of other games as well. There were like Prey as well. Like these are like highly reviewed games. Deathloop was one of them.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, Deathloop was the one.
That was a good game.
Yeah. Or, like, they worked on it. Like,
yeah.
Because there's Arcane Austin and Arcane Lyon. So they have 2 headquarters, basically. One works on one stuff. But, yeah, so...
I mean, we all know the reason why they bought Bethesda, and it wasn't for these studios.
Well, this was the thing, because Microsoft, the annoying thing that came out, basically, was everyone knew that, like, because people go, oh, yeah, the bad game shut the studio down. That was what people thought was the reason, because, the game didn't do well, even if they had a history of, like, legacy titles that people liked. The reason why they shut it down was because it was a poorly received, unworkable game, and they just wanted to cut costs and recouped some losses from that. And I know people in the gaming, like gamers, for some odd reason seem to celebrate when a bad game, the studio shuts down, when most of the time it's not the developers' faults that they have that, it's the higher ups who are making the decisions to force them to make these games.
Yeah.
It's fault that the game is bad, because a lot of the time developers just want to make a good game, and it's EA's and Microsoft's and Activision's that force these microtransactions and all of these decisions that people don't want into these games. Like, I think EA is apparently working on a way of adding ads to games. just to pop up ads. Yeah, like new ways of adding ad campaigns to just games. I'll see if I can find it. But yeah, so people were like, okay, Redfall, bad game, studio shut down. That yeah. Whilst people were sad because of Dishonored and thing, people were like, okay, if Microsoft's going to justify it, that's why, because it wasn't a good game. But then they shut down Tango Gameworks, which was the studio that made the Evil Within franchise, which is highly acclaimed and like one of the best, apparently one of the best like recent horror game franchises. It made Ghostwire Tokyo, which wasn't super well received, but did well. It was, I think, the one that PlayStation got before Microsoft because the deal pre-existed. So this was, I don't think, ever meant to be an Xbox title. It was only meant to be a PlayStation exclusive, but because Microsoft bought Bethesda, they ended up getting it as part of a renegotiation. But then they made a game called Hi-Fi Rush, which is basically a third-person music game where you're a guy who basically has a MP3 player in his chest, and it's a rhythm game, but it's like a combat game. So all your attacks have to be to the beat of the music. It's actually quite fun. I played it. I have a couple streams on it. I didn't go back to it because I had no life outside of the world. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it a lot. And I think everyone else did. And it got really well reviewed. It won a lot of awards. It was a small project and didn't cost a lot of money because it was just something that they were working on a smaller side of the studio. And they just kind of surprise dropped it. Like no one knew this game was coming out when it first arrived. Like it was just something that developers were passionate about and worked on and made something interesting and new. And it won Microsoft a whole bunch of awards and things. And then Microsoft basically for months was basically going, this is why we bought studios. We wanted small developers to make prestige games, and we want to foster the creativity of developers and all of this. And then even a game that made them a lot of success, but because it didn't sell gangbusters. It was only on Xbox Game Pass. It recently came to PlayStation because Microsoft started now putting their exclusives on other platforms as a way to try and, because they were like, oh yeah, we want to foster this. That's what I find so weird, because they were like, we want to foster this studio and give them more opportunities to grow this franchise, and they just shut the fucking studio down.
Yeah, there must be something going on behind the scenes, because this is like severe cost saving exercises, very severe, and it's probably to do with Call of Duty.
Yes. So there was a game developer who basically came out and said that the reason why these studio closures are happening is more or less because Microsoft went on a spending spree and bought Bethesda for like $9 billion, Activision for $70 billion, and that has turned the ire of Sauron, or Microsoft's eye, onto Activision, Xbox, and has gone, right, you need to make that money back.
Yeah.
And Activision numbers are now the metric. So because they have Activision King, they have Blizzard, these games rake in a shit ton of money. And so all of the internal metrics for success are now measured against Activision rather than Microsoft's original stuff, which never really did that great because they were the third horse in a race.
Yeah.
And now they've suddenly acquired this studio that has raked in millions and millions of sales and everything like that. So if a game doesn't do that, it's considered a failure now in the eyes of Microsoft.
But they've still got to make that 70 billion work, because that's still a hell
they
of
can
a
make
lot
that.
more.
Like I did a video on this. What was like the future plans of Microsoft with Microsoft's Xbox's future plans for Activision or whatever it was. And I basically said, because Call of Duty sells over 10 million copies a year or whatever, like most Call of Duty sell over 10 million copies, which is pretty much like a hard standard for any other game to do in terms of those numbers. Like I think I've said before, only like 10 PlayStation exclusives have ever sold over 10 million. It's a very small number of exclusives that have sold over 10 million. But Call of Duty does it basically with every title. Like, most even hit 20 million. It is a very successful game franchise.
It is, but they've still got to make 70 billion. And I just got
Activision
the,
alone each year made 10 billion.
Well, no,
in
actually,
profit.
I've got the actual revenue figures, and Activision. It's not 2023. This is 2022.
They made They make about 7 billion.
7 billion
a year.
Yeah. So it takes 10
so
years.
it would take 10 years, and that was my thing. That was their plan. That was my idea of the thing at the time. Was that if Activision just continued as normal, even if Microsoft made improvements and made it more of like, here's how we're going to do it. We're going to make it so it's not an infestering, so like horrible place to work, and we're going to treat developers nicely, which I don't think they're going to be doing anymore.
I think, yeah, it can be worse.
They've now got to make money.
It won't be worse than what Activision's working standards, but
Bobby Kotick was a horrible person, but he made apparently he made like his leaving thing was like 350 million or something like that, and that was enough to fund like several game studios for like 70 years or something like 7 years or something like that. Someone did the maths. Basically, the 4 studios that Microsoft closed, if they hadn't paid Bobby Kotick that bailout money, they could have run those studios for like 7 years or something stupid like that. Like all of the staff involved and everything like that. And it's just like, what are we doing? Why are we paying these people so much money?
All right, so here we go. So it wasn't so 700 revenue, but it's only 500 million profit. So it will take a bit longer to get it.
But like if you're looking, because legal accounting is always bullshit anyway.
It is.
Like,
I mean, they always
like
report less profit.
If you've ever heard the story of Star Wars, basically the guy who was in the suit for Star Wars for Darth Vader, he was paid he was going to be paid per profit on the movie. If the movie did like well, so he never got like a proper like decent payout because the legal accounting basically went, yeah, we've never made a profit on this movie.
Yeah.
For like years. And like so many people have had that where it's just legal accounting where it's just like, yeah, you get paid on commission. Like the whole thing with Scarlett Johansson and Black Widow. She was meant to get a profit of the cinema revenue, but because it went on Disney Plus at the same time, she didn't get any of that money because they were like, well, it doesn't technically give you any right to it because it was on streaming. You only get the cinema release. So that's why she sued, because she was meant to get a much bigger payout. So legal accounting for like big studios and everything like are notoriously just fickle things. But yeah, so like in terms of like we've made this much money and we can boast that we've made $7 billion each year. Whether or not it's profit is a different thing, but
well, I think
it's still big now.
We don't know how it did last year because it's not been delisted.
Yeah.
So it's been bought.
Are we getting a Call of Duty this year?
Yes.
Oh, great.
Apparently,
we're meant to have a break.
Well, I don't know. Apparently, the next one is rumored to be Black Ops Gulf War.
Oh my god! I can't wait to club and puck. What are the fucking golf clubs?
Fucking putter and drivers or irons.
There we go.
Or
I can't
woods.
wait to driver and putter and wood my way around it.
Golf, but you know what you mean.
I know what the Gulf War is. When are we gonna get Call of Duty future games again? I want Call of Duty Infinite Warfare 2.
Hey, well, yeah.
Give me Jon Snow back in a game.
What was even this Call of Duty that just came out?
Modern Warfare 3, wasn't it?
Oh, that's what it was. I don't know. Honestly, I forget.
Well, yeah, because I swear last year we weren't meant to get a Call of Duty because of the Activision thing, and they were meant to be taking a break, and then they just went, no, we'll still drop a fucking Modern Warfare 3. And that's why it's basically only Modern Warfare 2 maps. Because it was just basically, we're going to reskin it so that we can sell it as a different game. But yeah, so yeah, everyone's very mad at Microsoft right now. And also, apparently, there are more studio closures coming, and a lot of the statements were basically from Microsoft that we spread ourselves too thin. We need to restructure the studios, and we're focusing more on big franchises. Your Fallouts, your Skyrim, your
Yeah, yeah.
Big AAA focused games. So complete opposite of what they were saying when they were acquiring all of these studios. We're doing this because we want to foster the creativity. And this was a big selling point of why they were allowed to buy Activision, might I add. We're not going to stop making all of these games. We're going to be pumping the money into them so that they can create interesting games. So, wonder what.
It's just like, but the thing is, Activision only makes its money because of its way it sells things across different consoles. How is it going to work with Game Pass? You're not going to make that money with Game Pass.
That is the big internal debate at Microsoft at the moment, is do they sacrifice the guaranteed sales of Call of Duty on Microsoft, even whatever, or do they try and get the player base to move onto Game Pass and suffer the loss of the sales and take the hit on terms of the profits? Because they're not going to make the money, because if they do it and they do put it on Game Pass, they lose the PC market as well.
Yeah, that's a big market. They lose everything that's not PlayStation.
If it was just Xbox, it wouldn't be that much of a hit. But because they've pushed Game Pass and everything onto PC, if they put it on PC, they're losing all of the fucking Steam sales, the Microsoft sales, and everything like that.
Do you think Xbox or Microsoft will stop making Xbox consoles?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just going to just Game Pass on PC.
Microsoft has never wanted to be in the hardware division. Microsoft only does it out of sheer trying to control everything. And they've always sucked at it. Like, no one likes Microsoft hardware.
The 360 was the closest. Well, I think that's mainly because the PS3...
But that was because they had games.
Because they had games, and also the PS3, when it released, was...
The PS3 stumbled very hard. Yeah. Because as every fucking thing, Sony got very cocky and went, we can sell a fucking Blu-ray player that's £600 or $600.
Yeah, it was like $600. It was $600 on release back in 2008. And then the Xbox came out, I think it was like half the price, and everyone was like... Well,
in the long run, Blu-ray did dominate. Like, that's the reason why the PlayStation 2 sold, was because they put a DVD player in it, basically, and it worked as a DVD player.
The PS2 was just too advanced.
It became a home console, which is why Microsoft has always wanted to be a home console as well, home video platform as well. That's why the Xbox One tried to be an all-in-one system. And they fucking fell. And Sony basically realized, we're just going to be we're going to be a video game thing and put video stuff to the side. We'll allow it.
The PS4 was very much gaming first.
Focused gaming.
And it was even more focused on just not even like couch multiplayer. It is for the hardcore gamers almost. It was marketed towards.
Yeah.
And it did well. It did really fucking well.
It's the second highest... Well, it's up there.
Not including Nintendo's. Nintendo's a bit...
No, because it doesn't count with Nintendo because it's handhelds. The Switch has probably outsold it, I imagine, but let's have a look.
But Nintendo is kind of its own market. Like, people don't buy a Switch instead of a PlayStation.
Yeah.
It's its own thing.
It's an add-on. It's basically you buy one and then you add the Nintendo one after.
Like, if you're debating between a Switch or a PlayStation, you're probably going to get both instead of one or the other.
Yeah, so PlayStation 2 is 155 million. Nintendo DS 154 million, but that's all handhelds. The Nintendo Switch is now number 3 at 141.32 million, supposedly. And the PlayStation 4 is 117.2 million. And PlayStation is 102.49 million.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's technically...
Oh, okay, so the 20 million extra sales was this year or something. Sony sold 20 million units this year, because the apparent units sold for the PlayStation 5 is 59.3 million, which has just overtaken the Xbox One.
Well... Kind of, because they stopped reporting the sales figures of the Xbox One.
Yes.
So that's estimated at 58 million.
Microsoft no longer does this. Oh, wow. The PlayStation 3 has apparently dropped from its sales figures because it was like 90-something million.
It's not greater than 87. They don't know for sure, but...
Yeah. Interesting. But yeah, PlayStation and Nintendo are the top dominators, and the Xbox 360 is the one that is the outlier in all of this. It takes Microsoft getting the Xbox One to even be in the 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, they're not even in the top 10. They're only once in the top 10. Nintendo and PlayStation basically dominate it. And yeah, so PlayStation is about 40 million units more than Xbox at the moment for both the Xbox S and X series. It's sitting around the same sales as the Quest 2, apparently.
Ooh.
A VR device. But yeah. So yeah, no, Microsoft, I don't think has ever wanted. Because Microsoft, if you've ever watched, I don't know if you've ever watched it, but there's a documentary series on YouTube made by Xbox detailing the history of Xbox.
Yeah.
It's 6 episodes, and basically it tells the tale of the two teams that basically were pitted against each other to try and create the Xbox, the original one, and how Bill Gates was completely against the idea of having a hardware gaming console.
Yeah.
And how he just didn't want it because he was software, basically. So Microsoft has never wanted to be in the hardware side. They do it mostly because they just want, if they sell their hardware, they get more money because they can only put their stuff on it. Like an Apple product. Everyone just wants to be Apple. But that was the thing that people were really annoyed by, is Microsoft is a $3 trillion company. And it's we're cost cutting to...
They own the PC market in software. They own it. There's other options. The thing is, right...
Linux and
macOS. If game developers made their games for Linux, I would happily use Linux. I would prefer to use Linux.
You should buy the Steam Deck, Dan. That's a Linux OS.
Yeah, but it's just get games ported, and it's not you can't play any proper games. And if the games actually are, they're running on servers streamed. Because they don't make the games... All games are made for Windows. Windows just owns everything.
Yeah,
and there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do about it.
Well, you can pirate it.
The only hope really is that hardware gets good enough that they can start to emulate games, or you can emulate games in Linux and to a good level. I don't know that point, it'd be fine,
but the other thing that I'm worried about is because Microsoft has basically gone, even if your game is good and brings us a lot of praise and notoriety and goodwill to us, we're still going to shut you down because you didn't bring in a Call of Duties or a Fallout or anything like that. Hellblade 2, which is the reason I bought an Xbox, is a very small middle tier double A game. It's not an indie, it's not a triple A, it's in the middle. It's gonna be 20 to 30 quid, something like that, price tag. And the first one is incredible, and the second one looks to be incredible as well. Visually, it's better than most triple A games. And it's a very small team, and people are it must suck to be Ninja Theory at the moment, because if their game doesn't completely blow everything out of the water, Microsoft might just shut them down because they didn't sell well. And they're putting it on Game Pass.
Yeah. It's coming this month, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the 24th. That's the thing. Microsoft has done no promotion of this game. There's been no promotion.
They don't care. They do not care. Microsoft only cares about the big names because that's what makes the money. I mean. The small little companies that make good games doesn't make them the money. But I think it's if Microsoft do just focus on the big names, Sony will just pick up the small little ones, and I'm sure Sony won't care because it would just mean that they get more fucking console sales and more people buy into their ecosystem, because I think people actually got fed up of the Call of Duties and things. I know some people still play them, but...
Well, this is what Game Pass was meant to be, it was meant to be a platform that people could play these indie games on and not have to worry about losing, rather than spending 20 quid on a game and not really liking it because there was no real refund option. This was meant to give people the safety net of allowing people to play more games for the same price as paying for a AAA game, because you get all the Xbox exclusives, so you get your big AAAs, but then you can go and play a smaller indie game, and that was meant to be the thing. If Microsoft is now switching to only the AAA games, they cannot justify, because it was one of the points brought up in the Microsoft acquisition of Xbox. One of the old leaders of PlayStation brought up the point that the reason why Sony doesn't do it is because they can't make a profit off of AAA games because of how big they are if they put them on their own stream, their own PlayStation Plus, because like a £200 million game, like The Last of Us 2, Spider-Man 2, God of War 2, all of these massive games, if they put them on PlayStation Plus day one, they wouldn't make money.
No.
Microsoft could do it because they were backed by Microsoft, and Microsoft was like, yeah, we'll take the hit for you because you're trying to speed run us up to the top of the charts. But Microsoft has never dominated because they've never had games to put on Game Pass. Like, they've kept the same stuff over and over again, and people have not liked it. Like, Halo's degraded completely. People don't like the Halo games since Bungie left, basically. Gears of War is a franchise that people don't like anymore, or don't play as much anymore. The racing game, whatever it is
Forza.
that they have, Forza.
Forza was so popular. It was like, it was by far the biggest.
It was at one point, I think, more popular than Gran Turismo.
I mean, it definitely was, and it was the go-to racing game.
Yeah,
that's gone now. I think F1's now the most popular one. I think. Could be wrong.
Probably. But like you ask someone what's a PlayStation like exclusive, they will be able to name like some of the new ones, some of the old ones. I guarantee you most people wouldn't be able to name an Xbox a new Xbox exclusive. Like, they'd go Halo or they'd go Gears of War. But Microsoft has nothing new.
No, and they're still not going to have any big new franchises because
they had Hi-Fi Rush, and now that's... But that was the thing. I find it so weird that they ported that to PlayStation and then shut the studio down.
Yeah.
Like, they literally stated, we want to foster this studio, and then we're going to port this game so that it has a higher chance of sales so that we can support, like, another game. And then they just went, nah, we're going to shut this down. Sea of Thieves? Like, Rare Studios, the ones who do that, the ones who did, like, Banjo-Kazooie and all of those old Nintendo games, like Donkey Kong and stuff, that people loved. And then Microsoft just made them do multiplayer stuff. Sea of Thieves now got ported to PlayStation, but if that doesn't do well, what is Microsoft going to do to that studio?
They'll axe it. They will axe it.
Yeah. Like, Sea of Thieves does really well. But
at some point, they're not going to have any new games to put on Game Pass.
No. But this is the state that, with the state of, like, gaming, we know the Suicide Squad came out, right?
Yeah.
And that was Warner Brothers. And so Warner Brothers is head of the, like, gaming division or whatever. Or someone in Warner Brothers basically came out and said, Suicide Squad lost them £200 million, by the way. Or
I'm not surprised.
$200 million.
I am not surprised.
It was a massive, like, out of a $400 million loss or something, Suicide Squad was responsible for, like, half of that. Then the guy who runs it or whatever basically came out and said, we're still doing live service games. And they pointed to the success of Hogwarts Legacy, a game that came out the year before and did really well, which was a single-player game. And, like, when this was really successful, Suicide Squad, which was a live service game, not successful. And the reason why they're doing this is because they have a higher chance of sucking money out of people from a live service game than if they try and pour money into the off chance that they make a successful single player game.
I'm so sick of live service games. I'm fed up of them. I think after Destiny, I am not going to a live service game ever again. I am done getting invested in them. Like, it pissing me off. I want a game that I want variety in games now. It's just stagnated. That's all it has done. It just stops innovation for these new games because all these big game studios go, oh, there's no point making it because we keep doing this live service game and make loads of money that way. And then all these little game studios now are getting axed as well. Well, these are the only people who are actually innovating.
It's also the same with movies. It's like only what happened to movies as well.
Yeah.
Small movies don't make money, so studios don't fund them. Even though small, like, horror movies are, like, one of the most successful genres in cinema because they're very small budgets, but they make massive profit.
Yeah.
And, like, rom-coms used to be that. They were, like, small, low-budget things, and then they made a bunch of money, and then people stopped wanting them. But I was watching a video, I can't remember who said the point, so I apologize. But it's because everyone has become is trying to become TikTok or YouTube, or everyone is vying for your attention. The longer you stay on something, the more profitable you are to that company. So a live service game is, if you can keep someone on there for as long as you can, you have more of a chance of buying something on that, or spending money, or going and getting, or recommending, or getting someone else onto it, than if you played a single player game and you played it for that 6-hour period or 12-hour period and then just moved on. Like, you might have had a better experience, but that 12 hours, you could be doing 40 hours.
Yeah.
100 hours.
Yeah, it's very clear and obvious to see why they do it, but it's just a shame to be in this space. And
the one hope that we have is gamers are the most notoriously fucking angry people in the world.
And stubborn. Gamers are very stubborn.
We destroyed NFTs coming to the gaming market.
Yeah, and also Helldivers, big change. That's promising as well, because that is, a company going back on their decisions.
All you've got to do is vote with your
Bungie
wallet.
made something as well, and then the community stood up against
Yep.
it. The gaming market is probably the only market that can be resilient to these changes. But I think Microsoft is doing it in a very subtle way that if you don't know these news or these game studios closing, you won't notice them gone. Probably.
You also won't care because there's so many games on Game Pass, and what's one game missing on it? Well, what's one...
Well, the thing is, the game's still there, it's just no future games.
Yeah. I do find streaming services clever in terms of you're on, like any sort of, like, platform where it's a everything is here sort of mentality, but you pay, like, a once-a-month payment. Like, it is a very interesting thing, and I know why they're lobbying so hard against the it's as easy to cancel as it is to subscribe model that a lot of people want, because they know that it takes the average person months if they decide that they want to cancel something, because there's always something new on there.
Well, yeah, and there's also a thing, if you wanted...
It's also perceived value as well.
Yeah, I think
I've got all of this.
If you're paying like £8 a month on Netflix, it's not that big a thing. And because it is such a pain in the ass to cancel it, you're just like, I can't be asked, so you don't bother. And then you're just, even if you're not watching it for 3 to 4 months, they're making that money off you for free. Or doing anything. But because people, I'm not going to say lazy, but because it's such an inconvenience to unsubscribe, and for such a small cost, people don't think about it. And they just make some money, because all they need is just millions and millions of subscribers.
It's also really interesting when you look at what the most popular things on those streaming services are, because it's never the new stuff.
No,
it's very rarely that a new thing comes out from those streaming services. Like, I think the only one that's really on Netflix that at the time was Stranger Things.
I would say something recently new is Baby Reindeer. That's been a massive thing for Netflix.
Yes, but that's... I don't know what the numbers are on that. I haven't watched it. But it's not that something like that comes out and breaks record. Like, it's more
it's not breaking any records, no, but it's...
It's more that it's something that most people would like... I think at the... Like, when it was on there, Friends... and like The Office and like Seinfeld. Yeah, like because they have back catalogs of like multiple episodes, multiple seasons, whereas the current streaming landscape is you maybe get 3 seasons and they're 8 episodes.
Yeah, and it's not,
and it doesn't have the impact and the legacy because they don't allow it to grow.
And it's one of those things just easy watching. So when I'm going to bed at night, I just put like sometimes on an episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It's easy. I know I've seen it before. I've seen it loads of times, but it's such an easy watching. It just helps you relax. Don't have to think about it.
Yeah, but it's like acclaimed critical television and acclaimed games are meant to be something that bolster your platform, and you're meant to have the easy cash cows that come on. But if you only have the easy cash cows, what are you adding to society?
So Baby Reindeer at the moment is at 56.5 million views.
All I know about Baby Reindeer is the guy who made it is basically telling people, stop trying to dig into who these people are.
Well, it's also the guy who's acting in it actually happened to him.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's...
But the person's like, stop trying to look into who it is. The whole point isn't meant to be who is the person who did this. Yeah, you say
that. She's got to Piers Morgan to do an interview.
Yes,
live.
I'm sure now she has. But like, the guy who did it was like, stop. because I didn't want this to be a whole thing about trying to find who did it. It was a grieving thing or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it's to do with his grievance, and it was about how he felt in the moment.
Yeah, it was meant to be an introspective thing, not a manhunt about all the people who were in it and what the point was. It's just, I just find it so funny that people just completely miss the point of things.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, gaming sucks. Fuck Microsoft and Sony. Don't pre-order games. That's what fucks you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Do not do that.
It was something about basically the whole thing is as much as game developers love like what they do, it's the people, the higher ups, who are beholden to the stock market. They have to please their investors, and the investors are the dumbest fucking people in the world. They don't know what makes.
They're dumb in like
they know how
context.
to make a line go up.
They know how to make the company more profitable, as in like better.
They don't know how to make anything. They know how to make a line go up, and that's all they care about. How they make that line go up, they don't care.
Yeah, they don't give a
as long as that line goes up. Apparently, the guy who did the GameStop thing tweeted out and made GameStop go up again.
Did he?
Yep. So GameStop skyrocketed and they had to halt trading again, which is just so funny to me.
That's so funny.
So yeah, if you had held on to your GameStop stock, you might have made a bit of a profit. But yeah, stock market is the worst thing humanity has ever created because it sucks anything interesting out of it.
Once again, it's a shame because like, the stock market at the time, for what it was it's
meant to be an investment in a company that you believe in, but because it gets corrupted by capitalism, it is a cesspool of the most scummy people in the world, all in one place, going, I don't care about people, I just want my line to go up.
Yeah. Or if you're shorting, you want it to go down.
Yes.
Which are the even worse people.
Yeah, because you're betting on a company failing.
Yeah, because you want people to lose their jobs so you can make money.
Yeah. But yeah, this has been... I think there's a website that basically tracks the job losses in gaming. I'll see if I can find the name.
One day I'll come to buy them back, but for now...
I think it's layoffs. Where is it?
These kind of things, they have a habit of circling and repeating. And
games industry.
I am sure that something...
Over 6,100 gaming jobs have been cut in 2023. And I think 2024 has already nearly reached that number.
That's just Microsoft alone, isn't it, to be honest?
January 2024, 5,994 jobs laid off. February 2024, 2,027 jobs. March, 597. April, 1,003. May 2024, 303 jobs. It is the worst, like, amount of, like... So many people don't know if they're gonna like have a job, and like so many people are considering leaving. So many people are considering going indie. So many people are just like, "What is the point? How do I have job stability?" Like Destiny and everything like that. They fired the fucking composer.
Yeah, that was fucking stupid as fuck.
Like, what is happening in gaming? Because all of them are just trying to make fucking GTA. Everything is trying to work on Minecraft and GTA numbers and Call of Duty, and nothing is trying to be creative anymore. And it sucks shit.
Yes, it's a shame. I'm hoping eventually it'll change. I'm hoping what happens is everyone's trying to do this, and it fucking fails, bites them in the ass, and then you have to go back to doing what was working and having creative new games and new ideas, and then hopefully then things will work.
I just quickly read. Over 10,000 jobs were lost in 2023. An additional 9,500 jobs were lost in 2024. We're 5 months into 2024 and we've already hit nearly the number of jobs.
And that's probably why no games has come out really the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Like 2 games maybe I think have been successful.
Yeah.
Maybe the next Call of Duty might even be shit. Imagine if the next Call of Duty doesn't.
Call of Duty not been shit.
No, maybe this time it will actually have diminishing sales figures.
I doubt it. Call of Duty.
No, a few people
Call of
don't
Duty,
want a new
FIFA, and all of those games are like the ones with a fan base that's so big that even if like everyone decided to not play it, people would still play it.
FIFA and sports games have a hold on something that's more than just gaming. I think Call of Duty is the only one that could suffer its own fate.
No, Call of Duty is too big to fail at this point. I don't think, because it makes people too much money.
I think it could fail.
No, because I think no streamer is good. Like any Call of Duty streamer is going to continue to do it because it will make money. At least initially, they might slow down on.
Yeah, that's what I think. I don't think it would be like an instant crash, but I can see it happening where people just start losing interest unless they make a big change. Because at the moment, people are losing interest. The game numbers are going down.
I think the only way it will happen is if something comes out to take the attention away, and most games don't try and compete with Call of Duty.
I think if a game tries to compete, they have a good shot.
But you need something big. That's the problem.
I know you need something big, but I think if a game... I reckon possible.
If Helldivers had released alongside of Call of Duty, that might have done it.
Yeah.
Because the sheer number of people playing that game would have... Like, it's a very similar, like, thing. It's like a shooter. It's co-op. It's everyone having the time of their lives. It's a different style of thing, but I reckon it's a shooter. People would maybe have gravitated away from Call of Duty and they would have seen a hit. I think because Call of Duty is going to come out in October or November... and it's going to have that Christmas sale period. Everyone's going to be off. Everyone knows Call of Duty. It's a lot of an easier sell. Grandparents will get it for their teenage kids and their children, and parents will go, it's an 18-plus game, but because you've been good, Jimmy, I'm going to get it for you. And, I think Call of Duty is... It would take a lot for Call of Duty to fail. That is why Microsoft bought it. It's unless Microsoft does a fucking terrible job with it.
So the Modern Warfare 3 did 25% worse than the year previously.
So it only sold 15 million copies.
I mean, my point. I'm not saying it's going to instantly crash, but it is. It looks like it's slowing down. Like there doesn't look like much growth in Call of Duty. I wouldn't invest in it as a franchise.
It's a 20-year-old franchise at this point.
No, and I really do think I just don't. Yeah, I just don't see it.
I think in my video, or in the podcast episode that I did about Activision Xbox, I did state that I think if Microsoft wants to do the clever thing, they will drop Call of Duty from a yearly release.
That would be the clever thing to do, yes. There's no hype for Call of Duty. There is no hype for it. It's just people go, new Call of Duty comes out, I'll buy it. It's like a routine thing. It's not, the people don't go, oh yeah, looking forward to it so much. It's, the new one's coming out, I'll buy it because I'll buy it every year.
Yeah.
It's not that mindset. And hype
it's like,
buys games. Hype sells.
Assassin's Creed used to come out yearly, and everyone got really fucking sick and tired of it. And now Assassin's Creed comes out every couple of years.
It's even more couple. It's like 3 years now, isn't it?
Well, there's a new one this year. And they have like mobile ones to fill it in and like smaller ones to fill in the gaps, but it is like the new one's like Shadow or something, and Asian, and people are very upset because you play as a black man in...
Isn't it Mirage?
Yeah, I don't know. I think Mirage had come out, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, Mirage was last year.
Yeah, the new one comes out this year. So I think they're going back to the yearly release cycle. But who knows? But I think they're not the big open world ones that they were doing in the last one. These are more story, like narrative ones. I don't know.
Yeah, because the one before that was Valhalla, that came out in 2020.
Yeah.
So there's like a 3-year gap between.
Yeah. The gaming landscape is different and bad, and hopefully we don't crash like we did in the 90s. But that was a completely different thing. That was oversaturation of everything. This is just businesses being cunts. So, who knows? I'm hoping the fucking FTC and the fucking UK regulatory body, the CMA, come knocking at Microsoft's door going, what is this? Why are you shutting down all these studios? Because you said Activision was going to be a good thing for gaming?
We can only hope. Anyway, let's finish it there, because it's been a long episode for us.
Yes. But yeah, a little bit of a rambly one this time.
It was fun. It's more fun those ones.
It might be back to a solo one next week, because it's Mad Max Furiosa.
Ooh, there's a good chance I'm not watching that.
Yeah. I'm happy to watch that on my own. And do it.
That's alright, I'll do a solo one for Doctor Who.
Sure, you can. We'll do that as a bonus. I mean, we could both talk about each other's thing and go, why did you not want to watch this? This is so much better than your thing that you wanted to watch.
Doctor Who is controversial right now.
Is he gay?
Doctor's not gay, and what do you mean?
I don't know. Isn't the guy who does it gay?
I think he identifies as queer.
Okay. Is he queer? Is the Doctor fabulous is what I'm trying to point out.
Fabulous. It's got a lot of... Well, I'll say there's a lot of personality. Okay, I'll go on to my podcast episode in a few weeks. That's what I'm discussing.
Well, look forward to that. And we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.